Hey YouTube, I'm Steve Post from Motor Racing Network, and one of the aspects of our sport that I absolutely love is the history of NASCAR stock car racing, and much of that history that I just really like to learn and study about is the late 60s and early 70s and what was going on in that era of stock car racing. The University of Racing is a line of diecast cars, and they produce the top quality diecast cars that we have right now out on the market, and they've done a wonderful job. Currently the line sits at 12 cars, so let's take a look at some of the cars in the University of Racing line. We'll start down on the far end. We have a pair of 1965 Ford Galaxies. NASCAR Hall of Famer Junior Johnson wheeled this number 26 car to all kinds of success, and right alongside, Ned Jarrett had tremendous success in this number 11 car as he raced it around the NASCAR Tour in the mid-60s. Alongside, we've got David Pearson's 1969 Ford Torino. A lot of success did Pearson have with that. And Bobby Allison's famous Coca-Cola car. This is an absolute beauty. In fact, this car was replicated, and Bobby actually ran some pace laps a few years ago at Charlotte Motor Speedway with this car, and Bobby was very active in the development and in the design, making sure that everything was right on this University of Racing diecast that we have. And I think one of the things that I really like about the late 60s and early 70s in our sport is this was the era where the sport was taken from its regional roots in the southeast and really moved across America. Tracks in Ontario, California started running NASCAR races, as well as Michigan International Speedway. Pocono Raceway came online at this time, and Dover, Delaware, so the sport really started to get entrenched across the country, more so than here in the southeast where it had much of its roots. As we look at more of the cars from the University of Racing line, we have Leroy Yarborough's Cyclone, and this is an absolutely beautiful race car that Leroy Yarborough raced across the Tour. A.J. Foyt, the umpteen-time IndyCar winner, had a considerable amount of success in stock car racing. That was in an era when drivers would go back and forth between the disciplines, and A.J. Foyt with his Ford Torino was one to watch every time he rolled on the speedway. We look at this number 21 car, and instantly we think of David Pearson. Well, it's not David Pearson. This is Cale Yarborough, who actually had a stint with the Wood Brothers as well, and this Cyclone is one of the cars that Cale Yarborough drove for the Wood Brothers. And Fearless Freddie, Fast Freddie, Freddie Lorenzen, great racer. He ran this 1965 Ford Galaxy and had great success across the Tour and great success racing this car. And again, this line just absolutely beautiful in showcasing these beautiful automobiles. I think when we mention these drivers' names as well, I think it's a who's who of racing. In fact, most of the guys represented in the University of Racing line are members of the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and I think reliving that memory and reliving their great exploits on the racetrack is what put them in the Hall of Fame, and what also makes this University of Racing line so unique and so neat for the collector of diecast. As we look at another series of cars, Donnie Allison, brother of Bobby Allison, with his Ford Torino Cobra, an absolutely beautiful race car. And Mario Andretti, he was another driver like A.J. Foyt that did a lot of crossover races, and here we see one of his Mercury Cyclones that he raced when he made the step over into NASCAR racing. We talked a little bit about the famous Wood Brothers number 21 and Cale Yarborough. Well, here's the guy that really made it famous, is David Pearson, and the Silver Fox had so many wins in these cars for the Wood Brothers, and this Purolator Ford is absolutely to the T right where it needs to be. In fact, the Wood Brothers very active in the development of these cars with all of the detail work with the University of Racing folks. And Darrell Waltrip's terminal transport car, and had a chance to spend some time with Darrell Waltrip when he got his first look at this car, and he was nearly brought to tears with just the detail work, and he started telling stories about this race car, and it was really, really neat. And I think that's the great thing about this University of Racing line is it allows us to relive stories about some great times in NASCAR racing, as it does these drivers when they get their first look at the University of Racing line of diecast. These cars are all available at your local diecast store or at planbsales.com.